Hello, star lovelies. It's a great time to be a soul. Today we're talking about.
We know we're in the new era. You've been following me for a while, and so I've been talking nonstop for the last 4 years about the new era. However, as we're looking at this time, here it is, the beginning of December when I'm recording this, and we are undergoing a 9-month process that is just so incredibly different than anybody on Earth has experienced before. So this is uncharted territory. And with this uncharted territory, it's hard to find our footing. It's difficult to figure out how to step forward, never mind lead other people. So I want to just talk about that. I want to be in the planetary energy and give you the cosmic reasoning as to what's going on. But I want to do it in a way that will be a little bit fun and lighter, because this can feel really heavy and it can feel really frustrating. And so we don't always have to feel frustrated. There are times when yes, there's that little blip of like, oh, well, thank goodness that the week feels better and we can get some things done. But that flow doesn't come easily for the next handful of months. So, if you've listened to the Personal Retrograde podcast, you understand and appreciate that the next 6 months also have this pulling back of energy. But there is this larger collective energy that is the uncharted territory. So when you kind of factor that in and you say, great, we're going through this major pullback personally, but then it's laid into this sea of like that feels like an abyss. So you can imagine that like you're out to sea and you can't see anything, and there's you're not only are you blind, but it's like completely dark. There's absolutely like absence of light. You're floating around, and you again, you like, hopefully you have a life vest, right? Like, a hope, or like you're sitting in a life preserver. But what is that? What does that look like? And does it even exist for you? And then with that, this is freaking terrible. And so what we wanna do is we wanna appreciate that there are others here with us, that there is light, that we have our own light switches that we can turn on, and we can make that life vest turn into a boat. Maybe I'm taking this analogy a little bit too far, but this is exactly what it feels like. It feels like we just don't know where we're going, how we're getting there, whether we can get there, and whether we are all alone. Well, I'm here to tell you right now that that sea of abyss is actually a sea of possibility. And when we are so incredibly certain of who we are and what our soul mission is, and how we have a clear mind, an open heart, and an active will, that we are the lights. So we become the beacons for others to be able to figure out what they're doing in this uncharted territory. And in order to do that, we need to gain some certainty first. And that's what I want to do in this episode, is talk about those outer planets and how they are just switching their signs. And there are 5 of them between the dates of November 19th and July 7th. And so it's all of them, right? So when we look at the outer planets, we're talking about Saturn, we're talking about Uranus, we're talking about Neptune, we're talking about Pluto, and we're talking about Jupiter as the bridge between the personal and the outer planets. When we're looking at the personal planets, as I talked about in those personal retrogrades, those are where we talk about Mercury, Venus, and Mars. And so when you think about it, every single planet is really on a trajectory in this packed next handful of months that are pulling us so tightly inwardly and yet pushing us so much outwardly. And so our mind is running amok. So let's give it some certainty. Let's talk about how they're coming in. And I'm going to go chronologically. Pluto, you've heard me talk about Pluto now for a long time, because as of March 2023, Pluto flirted with going into Aquarius for the first time since 2008. It was in Capricorn, and then it had that flirty fun that flirty fun. It had the flirty fun. We didn't have the flirty fun, but it had that like glimpse of the future. And Aquarius is future looking. So after Pluto went through and just completely took a wrecking ball to anything institutional, to anything financial, to anything political since 2008 until that time in 2023. It then wreaked havoc on really everything between 2023 and then November 19th, 2024, because when we looked at 2024 and we knew it was so incredibly edgy, this was one of the reasons. These planets that were changing signs were at the very edge or the cusp of their last sign. And that's where they take that last breath of saying, well, wait a minute, this is the final time that I can do this. So, Pluto, this is the final time I can rabble rouse with all the things that are political, that are geographically kind of have definition, that is institutional, financial, and otherwise. And so if you think of it, you can say, yes, that's exactly what it felt like. It exactly felt like everything was coming to the surface that we didn't want to look at. Pluto is always super uncomfortable. So imagine that you see this like big firestorm, like, or a dust storm, right? Like, what do they call it? Like a debut or something like that. And it's coming for you and you can see it and you know it's coming and it's coming for everybody. And then all you have to do is stand there and you have to like kind of shut your eyes and just be swarmed by the, cyclonic sand, like just like literally like just speckling you. And you just have to stand and then it just goes by. That's Pluto. So Pluto is that big, huge sandstorm. And so we've been going through it. Everybody goes through it together. No one is immune. And so there's Pluto. Pluto's now like literally the dust storm has passed, but it doesn't feel like it's passed. It doesn't feel like it's passed because there is this handshake that Pluto is doing with Mars right now that is also at the same time frame that all these things are going on. But I talk about that in the 2025 forecast episode. So here I want to stay on those outer planets. So now that you've just been like bespeckled with sand that has probably come at you in like G-force, now it's time to talk about all those other planets that are changing signs. So we luckily, quote unquote, have until the end of March before Neptune changes signs. So Neptune is like the guy in high school that is, just a pothead, right? Like, I don't know a better way to say it. Neptune has been in Pisces since 2011. So for the last 14 years, and he's been smoking a doobie. He's been literally like, dude, it's so fine. No worries. Everything is so incredibly groovy. I'm not going to worry about anything. I'm going to let everything go. And I'm just going to be sitting here in my van. I'm going to miss school. I'm going to miss all the things. And guess what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because life is just whatever. So that's like one aspect of Neptune and Pisces that we've had for the last 14 years. And so what does that feel like? Well, obviously it feels like it's fine. But if you think about the last 14 years, you haven't felt fine, right? There are other planetary reasons for it. Neptune has actually been helping you find whatever escape you possibly can. Hello, binging Netflix. Hello, TikTok. Hello, any sort of beautifully intuitive, spiritual pursuit, but it has had an amazing escapist effect. So you haven't had to deal with that sandstorm that has been wrought by Pluto. You've been able to hide from that. You've been able to take shelter in whatever form of escapism that has been helpful for you. Now, some escapism is super, super healthy, right? But when you take things too far, and this is where Neptune has been just so oozing of all these things. It's been really great for creativity. It, again, has been really great for any sort of intuitive opening, but it hasn't really been great for any realism. And so Neptune, here he comes. He's been sitting in his van now for a long time. He's missed class. Like he's not, what grade is he in? We don't even know, right? And all of a sudden on March 30th, he comes out of the van and he looks around and he's like, dude. And it's like the world has changed. And all of a sudden he realizes like, crap. I have to actually do something now. Like, holy, I have missed 14 years of my life. Where has it all gone? The school has been rebuilt. Everybody's changed. I don't recognize any single person around me. I feel so old. I feel so much out of place. I don't know what to do with myself. Where are the teachers that I know? Where's the school that I know? Where are the people that I know? I don't even know where I am anymore. That's Neptune in Aries. That's the wake up call that's going to come on March 30th. What other planets are changing? Well, we've got Saturn who's following on the heels of Neptune. So they're kind of chasing each other right now. They're going to be super, super close, and they come to an origin point in February of 2026. But we're not going to think about that right now. We're going to think about Saturn. Saturn is the hall monitor. Saturn is the guy that is so incredibly weenie, like with all the rules that he has, and you just want to smack him because you're like, can you just relax a little bit? Guess what? I had to pee. I ran out of the bathroom. I missed the teacher. She didn't give me a note. No worries. I'm like 45 nanoseconds late for class, and you're stopping me right now, and you're going to make me even more late. Or even worse, I didn't get to the bathroom, and now I really have to pee, and I can't. And you're sitting here lecturing me and make me go to the principal's office because I didn't get a note. You don't understand what a disaster it could be if I don't actually get to the bathroom. There's Saturn. Saturn is that, like I said, hall monitor. He's the tough cop. He's the one that's going to make you do the right thing and follow the rules. So doing the right thing is not hard, right? Like we can do the right thing. But when you're following rules that don't make any sense, and when you're following things that you're looking at and you're saying, is this even for me? Does this even fit me? And here he is making you stand there and explain all the things. So talk about hall monitor, like rule follower, traffic cop. He is making you stand there. So he actually, for the last 3 years, has been smoking the doobie with Neptune because he's been in Pisces. So he's let things go. So that's where things haven't really had definition. They haven't really had boundaries. People haven't been following rules. So when you look at yourself and you're like, I'm standing here with the hall monitor, I really didn't do anything wrong. You're questioning that. But when you're looking at the gang out there that's been bullying everybody, and the hall monitor hasn't been minding the halls for the last 3 years, it's hard to look at. So this is where I've been talking about people being able to get away with a lot. And it was hard to go through these 3 years. I mean, we're still there until May 24th of 2025, but it's going to end. So the good news about this is that, you know what? If you get your hall pass, you're fine. If you follow the rules, you're really good, right? So if you've been putting in effort and doing the work and like being having integrity and being authentic, this is going to feel really good. If not, though, it's not going to feel great. So any of those things that you think about that you're like, ooh, I've been skirting this. I've been not really following things that are going to be super helpful for me. You have the time now to sort that and get that right, because the hall monitor's coming and he's going to be hot on the heels, and he's going to be out of that van so fast, and he's going to be in that rule like looking vest, and he's going to be like with his little clipboard making sure that everybody's minding the store or following the rules. And then we have Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is like the Santa Claus. He's like your best friend. He like super helps. He's that inspiring coach. Let's just continue with this crazy high school analogy. And so he's the one that you can go to. You can ask any questions. Super helpful. Always going to give you advice. Always going to listen and always going to give you advice. Is it going to be good advice? It's going to be fun advice. It's going to make you feel good advice, but it might not be in your best interest. So Jupiter changes signs every year. So honestly, this is much less of a big deal than these other planets. But I have to talk about it because he's one of the five. And so on June 9th, he's going to be changing from where he is right now in Gemini to Cancer. That's actually going to feel really good because we are going to have so much airy, so much fiery signs that him going into a water sign of Cancer is like, right? So he's going to come with his pack. Like just picture him like he's like the gregarious guy, right? Like so think about him as big, tall. Like you can think of him as Santa Claus or that best friend or that guy that always makes you feel good or that inspiring coach. Whatever comparison feels really good to you, and he's going to have his like gang of friends with him in a good way, in a really good way. He'll have his posse, let's say it that way. And they're going to come and they're going to say, let's go have some fun. And in Cancer, it's going to be around food. It's going to be around gardening. It's going to be around your home. It's going to be around your ancestry, your roots. It's going to be, so where you came from. It's going to be around your history. It's going to be around those people that you call like family, whether that's your soul family or whether that's your biological family. And he's going to be really asking you a lot about finance too, because long-term investments is a Cancerian energy. And it's also around nurturing and support because this has lunar energy. It's very feminine. So that's like the really good things you can think like, oh, that's going to be fabulous. And it is going to be fabulous until it's not. So here's the thing with Jupiter. He makes everything more. So sometimes more is good, but then sometimes more is too much. So anytime he changes signs, we just want to be mindful of, okay, is that more in our best interest? Like, once again, is that more in our best interest or is that more just more? The good news, bad news is he and the traffic cop have been confronting each other. So they've been fighting each other since last August. They're going to come smack again on June 15th. So right on the heels after Jupiter joins, the Cancerian family energy, he's going to smack into that traffic cop. So this is where new things are going to be coming into play. So if you are, wanting to take a reset, a reassessment in June, yes to that, but in a very calculated way. It's because Jupiter would be like, you know what, let's just wipe this off the face of the earth because guess what? Doesn't really fit you anymore. So an example would be like, oh, you've got a little bit of debt. Oh my God, declare bankruptcy and just relieve yourself of all of that. You know what? You're in maybe you have $2,000 worth of debt. It doesn't make any sense to ruin your entire credit history to do that. But Jupiter will make you feel like it's a good idea. So that's the kind of things that you just want to be wary of. Just the good news is the traffic cop is going to be there. That hall monitor is going to be sitting that posse down and saying not so much, don't go so far. So that's super helpful. So we can use this as a benefacting energy. And then the last planet to move signs is Uranus. So Uranus is going to go into Gemini on July 7th. Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018. So here we are going from a very earthly energy to an air energy. So the last time Uranus has been in Gemini is every 84 years. So I am just going to name them and we're just going to breathe. It's World War II, it's the Civil War, and it's the American Revolution. And then the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was during the American Revolution. So there is this very revolutionary energy that Uranus has naturally. So think of him as that big rabble rouser. He's that absolute troublemaker just to make trouble just because. So we've all known those people in high school, right? But he does it in such a shocking way that we all kind of be like, I can't believe he just said that, right? And I can't believe he just did that. And there he is going to the principal's office, but he doesn't go to the principal's office. He just walks out of the school. And so what he does is he just literally takes and like creates a path that is so filled with freedom and independence and without constraint. It is revolutionary. So that can feel really empowering and emboldening, but if it's not for the betterment, then it's not actually a good path to take. But I don't want to say it's an easy path. It is going to be a path that presents itself. And because it's in Gemini, there is going to be the ability to sway minds. So it's going to be a really interesting thing to think about. We've got the doobie smoker, like all of a sudden waking up in March. You've got the hall monitor making sure the rules are set. You've got that big posse, kind of like make things just better for yourself, regardless of the consequences. And now you've got this rabble rouser, like stirring everything up and doing it in a shocking way. And so there is I call 2025 Breakthrough to You because it is all about independence and breaking free and not having constraints. but to what end? Right? So this is where, we are not going to feel like we want to follow all those crazy rules that the hall monitor is bringing in the view of Saturn, but we are going to be really thankful for Saturn, even though he's the tough love guy, because someone has to be minding the store, because no one is. When we're looking at all these planets, they're going into these really big, fiery, airy, fueling each other's signs. And so even though Saturn is going to be also in a fire sign, hopefully he's going to be able to give some practicality and some realism to this that can be strong enough to keep people and to keep us in line, because there is going to be so much energy not to do that. So I just wanted to look at these outer planets and juxtapose them with those personal retrogrades that are happening right now. Because as frustrating as it can be to not head forward momentum in Q1, that's just a mental construct that we have that doesn't actually need to be real. We can instead have a gorgeous, really beautiful, turn on our own light, create our own lifeboat, look at who else is out here in this uncharted territory, in the sea of abyss, and create that sea of possibility for ourselves and get really attuned with exactly what we want to do, because then the opportunities created by the second quarter movement of all these planets would actually be something we could take advantage of. So let's look at this as opportunity, both from that pullback right now and that big, huge opening in the second quarter. So these are what the planets have in store for us. I am talking about 2025, just like I talked about in 2020, in the effect of it is not the year to go it alone. So this is the year absolutely to ensure that you have the support in place that takes you and your soul mission into account, and make sure that you are on the right path, because it's going to be so easy to spin out in that second half of the year next year. And there's no need for that. We can gain the certainty now. We can really galvanize our energies, and we can ensure that we're on the right path. So as always, thank you so much for listening and sharing with friends. And it is a great time to be a soul. We are here in these unbelievably beautiful big times, and our soul has said yes. So let us say yes to the yes on that. And as always, happy soul tidings.
Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for more ways to use the stars strategically to align with your soul purpose, reclaim your power, and increase your prosperity. Please rate and review your favorite episodes, and remember to check out my website at kimwoods.com for my latest forecasts, articles, and offerings. To find out your intuitive success signature, take my 12-question Do You Know, Like, and Trust Yourself quiz and find out how you're living your stars at yourstarmaptosuccess.com. I've so enjoyed our time together, as it's filled with the power of the stars plus strategy to clear the pathway to your success. Until next time, happy soul tidings.